Welcome to the Dr. Mudgil podcast. This is episode 161. We are over the hump here in December. This is actually going to be the final live recording of the Dr. Mudgil podcast in 2024. As the year ends, we'll have a compilation, all sorts of stuff coming up, kind of recapping the year. And, just sort of thinking about the theme of my last couple of podcasts. Initially, my intent was on doing another sort of like insurance bashing podcast because, it's obviously been on my mind a lot lately. It's been on everybody's mind lately. But I didn't want to end the year on like a negative note and a frustrated note. I wanted to end the year on a high. So we're going to actually talk about something entirely different. Actually, this was supposed to be my podcast 2 weeks ago. This is what I was actually going to talk about a couple of weeks ago, but then all that stuff happened with the United Healthcare CEO, and it's, just kind of diverted me into talking about those things. But here it goes. So this will be kind of like a Thoughts of the Week style podcast. So I'll tell you what motivated this. I have a few new assistants, medical assistants that have been working with me. Wonderful people, and very proud to have them as part of my team. But when we were seeing a patient, it's very, very busy when I'm seeing patients. I see like a lot of patients in a pretty short period of time. There's a lot of bouncing around, between the rooms and lots of procedures and that sort of stuff. And we were finishing up a few biopsies on a patient, and one of my assistants put a Band-Aid on my patient, to cover the biopsy site. And it was kind of like sort of crinkled on itself. It was on kind of a sloppy way. And what I said, to my assistant was everything matters. Putting the Band-Aid on perfectly so it just looks like it's perfectly laid out is just as important as me doing the biopsy well. Because, when my patient goes home, what they're going to look at is the Band-Aid. That's what they're going to see. They're not going to see the biopsy. And, every detail counts. And, I get it. It's it was a really rushed moment. There's a bunch of things going on. There's the biopsy bottles and labeling the bottles and, controlling the bleeding of the biopsy sites. Which we're all working together to do this. But every detail matters. It's kind of like if there's a beautiful painting, but it's hung on the wall crooked, what you're going to notice is, wow, that painting is crooked. It's not that how beautiful the painting is. Or if you have a delicious cake that's been so meticulously baked, best cake in the world, but the icing is a mess on top of the cake, you're not going to be compelled to want to try that cake, right? Because that final detail, the icing, made the cake look unappetizing. So that's kind of like what the Band-Aids signify to me. I'm very particular about, all the details. If you do a surgery, the sutures are very important. The dressing that's placed over the sutures, very important. Because again, when my patient goes home, that's what they're going to see. And if they see that we were so attentive to detail with the placement of the Band-Aid, it's reassuring. Like for me, it would be reassuring. Wow, so much care went into putting this Band-Aid on. You probably wouldn't really even think about it, but you would notice if it wasn't, or if it weren't put on with a great attention to detail. Because you say, oh man, that Band-Aid is really sloppy. I hope they didn't, do a sloppy job with whatever procedure was done. Every detail counts. Every detail always counts. And I talk about this a lot, core values and that sort of stuff, and how it's important to set core values and your professional and personal core values. In my mind, I believe they should be the same. Mine are care, compassion, integrity, attention to detail, and accountability. Those are the four things that are very important to me, both personally and professionally. So attention to detail counts for putting the Band-Aid on. Attention to detail is a very important thing. So with that, this is going to be a short and sweet podcast. It's been an amazing year. Thank you so much for being part of the Dr. Mudgil podcast. We really covered a lot of territory this year, from mindset, motivation type stuff to insurance issues, a whole bunch of stuff, fitness, nutrition. We covered a lot of stuff, and it's been such a pleasure recording these podcasts. So with that, I hope you have a wonderful holiday week and are just ready to crush not only the week ahead, but the year ahead. Let's get it.